Let not your heart be troubled. You are listening to the Sean Hannity Radio Show podcast. All right, 32 days to go. The best election coverage available on your radio dial. Big debate on Sunday, town hall style. And we've got Martha Raddatz from ABC News and Anderson Cooper from CNN doing the questioning. I think half the questions are going to be from the audience. But don't worry, I hope they ask this question. Because, you know, we're all following this hurricane that I guess is pounding Jacksonville in the Jacksonville area right about now. And it did hug. I mean, it's been actually pretty fascinating to watch as it has been hugging the eastern coast without actually making full, complete landfall. If there's one area where it seems that it's going to hit, it looks like it may be Charleston in South Carolina. But right after this, it's heading up to Georgia and Savannah before we get to the Carolinas. But you know, speaking to supporters in Tampa, Florida, Hillary says climate change is wreaking havoc on communities all across America. And then she warns that, you know, about the hurricanes. It's not the last one that's going to hit Florida, given what's happening with the climate. We have had hurricanes. Go check the history. I'll ask Joe Bastardi, our hurricane expert, at the bottom of the hour when it comes to protecting our country against natural disasters and the threat of climate change. Donald Trump is unfit and unqualified. Well, what's a bigger cut? What is a bigger problem here? Is it radical Islam? No, she won't say radical Islam. No, climate change. Remember, this all started out as global warming. Well, no, actually, the next ice age is coming. Time magazine. Global cooling was first. And then that evolved into global warming. And then they all these leftists, because this was all rooted in a economic socialist system predicated on a belief that we, mankind, are raping and pillaging our planet for profit. And I guess these people want us only riding bicycles. I guess we can't even build a wooden bicycle. What are we going to make the bicycles out of without destroying the environment? Well, we can't have rubber. What are we going to use? How do you make a bicycle if you can't? We're going to live in tents? Where are we going to get? We're going to kill a cow to get a tent?
The planet has a fever.
Has a fever. Oh. Well, then how do you explain, where is it? Antarctica has the more ice put there in recent years than any other place? Which, well, I don't know. It drives me nuts. They can't say radical Islam. Here's Hillary talking about climate change and the hurricane season.
Another threat to our country is climate change.
Ouch.
2015 was the hottest year on record, and the science is clear. It's real. It's wreaking havoc on communities across America. Last week's hurricane was another reminder of the devastation that extreme weather can cause, and I send my thoughts and prayers to everyone affected by Hermine. But this is not the last one that's going to hit Florida, given what's happening in the climate. If it affects people who lose their homes or their businesses that took a lifetime to build, doesn't matter to him. When it comes to protecting our country against natural disasters and the threat of climate change, once again, Donald Trump is totally unfit and unqualified to be our president.
You want to talk about people's homes? And hey, Hillary, wake up. Wake the hell up here. We've got the lowest home ownership rate in 51 years now under your policies, Obama policies. And what about business? You keep saying you want to raise taxes on businesses. You keep criticizing Donald Trump because he wants a 15% corporate tax rate. I mean, why do we want a 15% corporate tax rate? Let me give you the number one myth. Corporations do not pay taxes. Well, what do you mean, Hannity? They got to pay something. Everyone's got to pay their fair share. Corporations, they're in business creating goods and services because their idea is to make a profit. They make a profit by providing goods and services that we, the people, want, need, and desire. And when they build the product or they provide the service, and let's say the government taxes them at a high rate, what do you think they are going to do? They're going to pass the tax charges on to you. Now, they're not going to break it down. You know, you bring in, I don't know, maybe you buy a brand new car and whatever. If GM is charged X number of dollars in corporate, they're going to build it into the price of the car. They're going to build it into the price of the service. It doesn't matter. You're still paying. Now, if we create a corporate environment with one of the lowest tax rates in the industrialized world, now we have one of the highest at near 40%, but you lower it to 15%. Now we're getting into the category of where Ireland is, and Ireland has been able to attract businesses because multinational corporations want environments where they can literally make more money and profit. I know that's a horrible term to somebody that wants free college education, free health care, free housing, free. Well, you don't have free. But that's the problem. We've indoctrinated. I can't wrap my arms around who's going to win this presidential election is because we have indoctrinated a country into believing that it is the function of government. It's their constitutional right to get everything for free, to empower government to take from one group of people and give it to the other group of people. It's called redistribution. Spread the wealth around. To each according to his need, from each according to their ability. So we'll see what happens, but it is frustrating. It is an economic policy that has led me to warn you back that what would happen in 07 and 08 if you elected Obama. I told you this was coming. I explained spread the wealth. The same thing is coming if Hillary is elected. You'll have millions more in poverty, millions more on food stamps. You'll have millions more out of the labor force, and you'll have the lowest labor participation. And I honestly also think we're sitting on another bubble here because the very same stupid stuff that we've been doing back that led to the 2007-8, decline in the economy, we're doing it again, including giving people that can't qualify for loans access to loans that the government's going to back up. It's ridiculous. September jobs, 156,000. The unemployment rate is 5%. The unemployment rate is a lie because they don't count the chronically long-term unemployed. 94,184,000 Americans are not in the labor force. And by the way, that's not just retired grannies. These are people that want jobs. How do we know? We have statistics to back it up. 1 in 5 American families don't have a single family member working. And 1 in 6 American men, prime working years, 18 to 34, they're either in prison or they're in mommy's basement because there are no jobs available. Well, you want to double down on stupid because you're embedded. I don't understand this about the left and liberalism. How many more instances do you need in your lifetime to prove to you that government is using your money and promising you the world, but it's really about them accumulating power by making you dependent? For example, let's use the most recent example, shall we, children? Okay, you were promised you could keep your doctor, keep your plan, and the average American family is going to save $2,500 per family per year. Okay. Aetna's gone, United's gone, Blue Cross Blue Shield is gone. Most of the other big companies are getting out, too, because Obamacare is a disaster, and they can't make money, so they're pulling out. Well, that means people can't keep their plans. That means that people already that lost their plans now have to move to the third or fourth plan, and people are paying more. And on average, since Obama's been president, families are paying $4,100 more per year than they were paying before. Now, for all of you that think Hillary's going to give you free education, okay, well, how good has the government schools been doing for your young children now? Here we spend per capita per student $11,600 a student on average across the country. Okay, but we have some of the worst science scores, the worst math scores, and the worst reading scores. So we might be investing more than every other industrialized country, but we're coming out dead last or close to it when it comes to results. Why is that? Because big government, power-hungry liberals that now actually want to take your kids now even earlier. Head Start, early education. Let's put the kids in school the day after they're born. A federal government school. We can indoctrinate them at a young age to believe in stupidity, that government's going to take care of their every need in life. This is a big part of what this election is about. Hillary's promising, all these kids with college debt, they can't find jobs. And that was one of the most amazing things in the speech where she was trashing Bernie Sanders. She's admitting these kids can't find jobs. Why can't they find jobs? Because the Obama economy, the Hillary economy sucks. and it doesn't have any jobs available. But some of you think, well, she's promising me free health care and maybe we'll get government daycare. Can only imagine what government daycare is going to be like if it's anything like our educational system or Obamacare. God help your kid. There'll probably be guns and violence in daycare centers soon because they can't stop violence in the schools anyway. And kids are coming out of high school dumber than when they went in. It's a pretty, you want to institutionalize failure. Government promises you a lot. We're going to educate your kids. We're going to give you your health care. We're going to pay for your college. Well, how the hell are you going to pay for college when Obama has now doubled the national debt? I'll give you another example. How many of you, maybe you're thinking that one day you'd like to retire to sunny, well, not so sunny Florida today, especially on the West Coast, and we'll get an update from Joe Bastardi at the bottom of the hour about Hurricane Matthew, but you want to retire, and you think, okay, I'm going to retire, and I have a pension or I've saved some money and I'm going to make a little money on the house that I invested in 30 years ago, and I might make a couple $100,000 here, and I put that money away. And if I get my Social Security check and I add that to what I saved, I might be able to retire at 67 or 70. Okay, well, they keep raising the retirement age probably to the minute before you die, so you pay in your whole life and don't get any benefits. That's a separate story. But the government also promised you they're going to put that money in a lockbox. We're going to save it. We're going to save it for you for your retirement. This way it'll be there for you. Oh, there never was a lockbox? Really? You mean Social Security is scheduled to go bankrupt in 15, 17, 18 years? We don't have enough workers to subsidize the Ponzi scheme? What you promised me. You said I'd have my Social Security check. And then, God forbid, somebody like myself who actually, made and saved a little bit of money, they're going to say, Hannity, you have too much money. We're going to legalize stealing yours. We're just going to take it because you don't need it. So you paid in your whole life. Now we're going to steal it. We're going to give it to somebody else. That's probably going to happen, too. But wait a minute. Government promised to send my kids and educate my kids. My kids are dumber than ever. They're not competing internationally. The government said that they'd protect jobs with NAFTA, but all those jobs went overseas. Government said now they're going to pay for health care. Oh, we're paying $4,100 a year, and we lost our doctor, and we lost our plan. Government said to me that I'm going to be able to retire because I have Social Security, and that's going to protect me and my family. I'll be able to retire. You notice they keep raising the eligibility age? It's going to be 72 soon. So basically you'll get your Social Security check. If you're lucky, you might be able to cash one because they'll try and time it out that you get it the day before you die. Whoops, sorry, you're dead. We'll steal all that money, too. And the problem with some of you people out there is you trust your government, and you become more and more dependent. Here's my problem in figuring out who's going to win the election. I don't know. Everyone, Hannity, who's going to win? The polls for me are uncomfortably tight. Florida, too tight. North Carolina, too tight. Ohio, too tight. Iowa's looking good for Trump. Pennsylvania, we keep getting there, but we don't quite get over the hump. We're still 2 or 3 points behind. Wisconsin, same thing. Same thing in Michigan. We're right there, but just not enough. And then you got it even in Nevada. Then you got close in New Mexico. Then you got it close in Colorado. It's just too tight. I don't know. Now, is there an enthusiasm gap out there where people just can't stand Hillary like they loved Obama and they're not going to get out and vote? Is that going to make a big enough difference? I don't know. Is there something to be read into the size of Trump's crowds versus the lack of size of Hillary's crowds? Probably. Is there an uncounted for Trump vote out there where maybe people are not going to tell any pollster a damn thing about how they're going to vote because they don't want to hear it or be criticized because they're voting for Trump because the media somehow has embarrassed them into saying, well, maybe I can't say it publicly, but they're going to get in the privacy of that voting booth and they're going to write Donald Trump, Donald Trump. I hope so, but I don't know. I don't know. But I do know this. I warned you in 2007. I warned you in 2008. I warned you how bad it would be. I warned you what it would do to the economy. I warned you what would happen if you picked a radical, rigid, ideologue, leftist, socialist statist to be your president. And now I'm warning you again, because now we have more people in poverty. As a matter of fact, 8 million more, 12 million more on food stamps. We doubled the national debt, lowest labor participation rate since the 70s. It's same thing with Hillary. Now you can add to it, by the way. She'll double down on health care. She'll put coal mining out of business. She will keep the same busted educational system. She won't control the borders. She won't say radical Islam. And she won't vet refugees. So don't tell me after the election you weren't warned. I warned you. And she, of course, will raise taxes on everybody. And then she wants to, if you do manage to save a few cents, when you do die, she'll take 65 cents out of every dollar again and triple tax you. But you'll be happy. You're going to pay for every failed government program because you want the government to protect you because you don't have courage in your own ability and your own strength to take care of yourself. All right, 25 till the top of the hour. So we were speculating yesterday as to whether or not Hurricane Matthew would actually hug the coast and head up the coast or whether or not it would shoot inland. Well, it went up the coast, never really reaching landfall. Joe Bastardi is with weatherbell.com. Right now, the storm is literally just barely off the coast where Jacksonville is. And also with us, we have Stephanie Brown. She is the assistant news director for our affiliate in Jacksonville, WOKV. Welcome, both of you, to the program. Stephanie, how are things now at this hour as we speak?
Things are soaking wet right now. I mean, I'm relatively inland, but I've been in constant contact with our reporters who are out at our beach locations, and they are just seeing flooding far inland. We were told this was going to be a largely coastal event, and the coastal areas were told to evacuate. Not everybody heeded that warning, and those who didn't right now are seeing flood waters creeping up to their doorstep, covering a lot of the roads along the coastal areas here. And even as you move inland, lots of rain and lots of high wind. And what a lot of people don't know is this area has actually been seeing pretty steady rain for several days already ahead of the storm. So when we're adding what Matthew is bringing, there are a lot of downed trees, a lot of standing water, and that's leading to pretty widespread and growing power outages as well.
Yeah. Joe Bastardi, we were wondering yesterday, I think you are leaning more towards it doesn't go inland, but as I look at this track, this is one of the weirdest tracks I think I've ever seen, or one in recent memory that I can remember. But now it's going to leave Jacksonville, head up in the Savannah area, apparently still hug the coast, maybe be in a direct line to hit Charleston, and then apparently it's going to move out west and then circle back down and around again towards Florida. Is that right?
Well, first of all, I thought it would be further west, right on the coast, and just a little bit inland. So I want to make that clear.
Well, you were right.
Well, it actually wound up further east. I thought it would be a little bit further west. But the problem with that...
Well, that's what I meant, east, not west. Go ahead. I meant east.
What you were right about was, well, if it stays offshore, what are the implications further north? Now, it is weakening in a steady fashion now because there's a lot of other influences that are coming into it. However, the problem you really have here is that rain is a big deal, and it becomes a bigger deal with these things as they weaken, because one of the reasons they're weakening because you're having a little bit of cool air start to come in, and it increases the condensation processes to the north and west of the storm. So all these places northwest of the track are going to be getting 6 to 12 inches of rain. There could be 1.5 feet of rain up in parts of the Carolinas, the coastal Carolinas. And this, Julia, which was taken off the board, really blasted northeast North Carolina with a foot and a half of rain. And what's going to happen is these people have just dried out, and they're about to get hammered again. As far as the timeline goes, Sean, this will be near Savannah, Georgia. Savannah will be having their worst weather with this about 2 a.m. in the morning. Okay. But again, when you have winds, and I was pointing this out yesterday, when the winds are blowing from the north and northwest, when the storm is offshore, the frictional effects of the land cut the wind speed. It's not like you're right on the beach. So,
well, it says we've got sustained winds of about 115 and wind gusts as high as 150.
Yeah, I think in my opinion, more realistic in looking at the structure of the storm now, it's probably less than that. I wouldn't be surprised if they downgraded to a 2.
I'm sorry, I don't have the same eye when I look at the storm and the satellite images that I don't have the same experience as weatherbell.com. Joe Bastardi. I'm just telling you what I'm reading. I only go by what I read here, Joe.
Right. There's a danger. Well, I didn't mean to. No,
I know. I'm messing with you.
There's a danger that even if it's downgraded, that people don't understand the beast that's burning them right now. Because what happens is, with all this easterly wind for the next 12 to 20 hours in front of this, it's pushing water back toward the coast. In the meantime, it's pouring rain. And that's going to lead to these bays and estuaries and the little rivers that come in there, the Santee, the Petey, and some of the other rivers, the Cape Fear River, for instance. Even though the wind may be blowing out of the northeast or north, you get water piling up anyway. So the National Hurricane Center is exactly right with the amount of storm surge that you're going to see along that coast. It's very, very dangerous.
All right, so walk me through the rest of the storm, and I don't have a lot of time because I got to get a lot of politics in today. But so we're now right outside the Jacksonville area where Stephanie is. Then it's going to hit Savannah. Then the coast. It's going to probably ride the coast the same way it did in Florida and Georgia, heading up to Charleston.
Here's what happens. Because the angle of the coast changes to northeast, southwest, even though the storm begins to move to the northeast, it doesn't shift fast enough. So what you're going to see here is passing around 50, 60 miles east of the mouth of the St. Johns River. It'll probably pass around 30 to 40 miles off the Georgia coast. And once it gets to the South Carolina coast, that area around Charleston, that eye wall may come right in.
So it may hit land in Charleston or around Charleston.
It may, but it's a moot point by that time because.
Well, it's not a moot point. It's just going to be less severe than it is now.
Well, no. What happens is the structure spreads out so that the winds aren't as strong as the center, but they spread out. So it doesn't make a difference. I told you I thought Charleston gets 60 to 80 mile an hour winds, no matter where the storm is. That's what I think they're going to get, right? But that, with all the rain, as was pointed out, going to knock down trees and power lines. And, I still think this is going to wind up being a multi-billion-dollar storm. Wow. It may not be devastating as it was in Florida, but there's a lot of damage from Florida all the way up.
Last question, and then I got to go, and I'm going to ask Stephanie one more question. All right. So what is this loop it makes outside of the coast of the Carolinas? What is this? It turns literally out east to sea in the Atlantic and then circles back, according to models, towards Florida again?
Yeah, that happened in 1999 with Dennis off the southeast coast.
I'm sorry, I don't remember 1999 in Dennis, but okay.
I know, but I'm trying to show that
it's happened before.
That actually look at it's happened before. See, it's happened before. That's right, and that's very important because a lot of people, and they're pushing that issue, and you know what I'm talking about. Understand people don't know that, but anyway, what happens is it will loop around and it will weaken. And it won't. Even if it gets back to the Bahamas or Florida, it'll be a ghost of what it is. And we may be still having this on the chart for 5-6 days, but it's happened before. Yeah, you folks want to Google something? Hurricane Ginny, 1963. Google that and take a look at that track because that's absolutely as wild as they get.
All right, last question, Stephanie. How much longer do you expect this is going to be right outside your coast here in Jacksonville?
Well, we're still facing a few hours of these storm conditions, but we're told that, the beaches areas, for example, which were evacuated and which the bridges to those areas have been cut off, those are not expected to open at least through tomorrow, possibly more. The flooding is substantial. The bridges out to that area need to be re-inspected. So even after the storm is off our coast, the amount of rain we're seeing, the river that runs through this area, it's high. The surf is high. The damage is going to be assessed, and it is going to take time to get everything back up and running. All
right. Appreciate it. You're in our thoughts and prayers. All our friends in Florida that are out of power and been suffering and have been fighting, hours and hours in traffic. And you guys hang tight there. And whatever you need after, I'm sure that the country's going to step up and help our friends in Florida. Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, Joe. So I told you earlier that Biden told the crowd, vote for, I know a lot of you don't like her, some of you, and you're not crazy about Hillary. Bernie Sanders now did the same thing because Biden said it in Pennsylvania to an audience of Democrats. Even if you're not crazy about her, we still need your vote.
Don't be in a position. And I know, and no one ever doubts I mean what I say. The problem is sometimes I say all that I mean. But I know some of you and some of the people you're trying to convince aren't crazy about Hillary.
Stop right there. You think? Here's what's fascinating. Sanders is in Dearborn, Michigan. I read the polls. I understand that neither Hillary nor Donald Trump are particularly popular. I get it. Like, okay, now it gets even more interesting because Obama was hedging his bets earlier today, telling an audience that, well, I'm confident that we will have an incredibly capable successor in the White House by the name of Hillary Clinton. When I say confident, I'm not overconfident, he added quickly. Wow, that's pretty interesting to me. Anyway, Democrats, this was in the Daily Caller, report that they're trying to load up the question list for Sunday night's town hall with anti-Trump questions. That's pretty interesting. Of course, this all takes place under the watchful eye of this corrupt presidential debate commission run by former one-time Clinton press secretary Mike McCurry, who somehow couldn't make sure that Donald Trump's mic worked at the first debate. Anyway, if there's any evidence that Trump is walking into a setup, you know, I mean, what good is it? Oh, my mic isn't working. What good is it to say that after? Anyway, Daily Caller points out liberal activist groups are mobilizing their supporters to stack Sunday night's debate between Hillary and Donald Trump with questions designed to be hostile to Trump. So we got two moderators hostile to Trump, Hillary hostile to Trump, and now we're going to stack the audience hostile to Trump. It appears, you know, this is all part of a system of corruption that no one pays attention to, but the State Department and White House apparently coordinated to shield John Kerry from being asked last March about Hillary's emails in an interview on CBS News, according to recently released emails. I think we can get this done so Kerry is not asked about email. Jennifer Palmieri, the then White House communication director, wrote to then State Department spokesperson Jen Psaki. Emails were obtained by the RNC. Oh, let's coordinate how we can manipulate the media so that we don't hurt Hillary. You know, James Comey, by the way, you know, is breaking his neck looking the other way on Hillary Clinton's crimes. He's been busy in the meantime indicting a naval officer, somebody who's dedicated his entire life to protecting his country, on the same charges he refused to bring against Hillary. Doesn't this make you proud? FBI investigation has charged the government contractor with stealing classified secrets, part of what officials say was a probe into how U.S. key computer spying tools were removed from the NSA. Authorities unsealed court documents. The guy's name is Harold Thomas Martin. He's from Maryland. And the removal of classified material is what he's being charged with. Officials say he was still trying to determine his motives or intent for taking information. He appears to be a hoarder. Wow. Let's go after him. Now, the FBI, interestingly, the director's James Comey is now facing a full-blown mutiny over his decision to take a dive in the Clinton email scandal. New York Post Paul Sperry reports that veteran FBI agents say Director Comey has permanently damaged the Bureau's reputation for uncompromising investigations with his, quote, cowardly whitewash of former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton's mishandling of classified information. Feeling the heat from congressional critics, Comey last week argued that the case investigated by career FBI agents, so if I blew it, they blew it too. But agents say that Comey tied investigators' hands by agreeing of unheard of ground rules and other demands. Quote, in my 25 years with the FBI, I never had any ground rules in my interview, said retired agent Dennis V. Hughes, the first chief of the FBI's Computer Investigations Unit. Instead of going to prosecutors and insisting on using a grand jury and that leverage to compel testimony and seize evidence, Comey allowed immunity for several key witnesses, including potential targets. And then, of course, he allowed them to destroy the evidence as part of the immunity deal. By the way, the Obama Justice Department also may be guilty of obstruction of justice. Got two top-ranking Republicans escalating their inquiry about the FBI agreement to destroy the laptops of these two Clinton aides in this email scandal, suggesting that the deal obstructed congressional investigators. Of course it did. All this is so corrupt. New emails show Hillary using the State Department to aid the Clinton Foundation. Does anybody care about this either? No. I was in the Washington Examiner today. Emails showing Clinton's aides teamed up with the foundation to perform donor maintenance. Oh, conflict of interest. Oh, pay to play. Oh, bribery. Unbelievable. Clinton Foundation critics revived the scrutiny of the Hannity Foundation. By the way, there is an exchange between Brett McCurk of the State Department and the AP. Listen to this question and answer.
You've seen the report about these three documents that are sitting up on the hill in this skiff and that relate to the Iran deal and Bank SEPA and the prisoners being released. and it is alleged or said that the date on the original was the January 16th, and that was scratched out, and the 17th was written instead. Can you explain is that true? And secondly, can you explain why?
What I can really say about that is, of course, as I think has been discussed many times here by John and others, we had a number of strands of diplomacy come together at the exact same time on the same day, and we had a very difficult 24 hours with the Iranians to finalize the prisoner trade. So a number of things were going on. We wanted to get a lot of business done the same day. There were a number of documents signed on that final day, and so that's really what happened that final day.
You know what that's all about? That's actually giving the money to pay for hostages. Yupsy daisy. Let's just scratch out the date and we'll make it the next day. So it doesn't seem like we're that totally corrupt and giving money for hostages. Your government's so corrupt. Don't worry, Donald Trump's temperament's more important.
And by the way, they were saying this is practice for Sunday. This isn't practice. This has nothing to do with Sunday. We're just here because we just wanted to be here. And, Hillary, frankly, they talk about debate prep. That's not debate prep. She's resting. She's resting. And I want to be with the American people. I want to be with the people from New Hampshire, and she wants to rest. Debate prep.
Don't be in a position. And I know, and no one ever doubts I mean what I say. The problem is sometimes I say all that I mean. But I know some of you, and some of the people you're trying to convince aren't crazy about Hillary. I know that, okay? I think she's gotten an unfair deal, but the truth of the matter is there's a lot of people. But folks, don't wake up on November 9th and find out we lost Pennsylvania by 2,000 votes and say, if I'd only taken my neighbor, if I'd only gone, if I'd only. And there's been a lot of elections. Remember Al Gore?
I was kind of nervous because I haven't seen him in real life, only on my grandma's phone and on TV. My heart was kind of squished together a bit, smashed. One of the ladies that want to be president are actually bad, and she steals.
Don't you someday want to see a woman president of the United States of America?
Well, not you. Hour 2, Sean Hannity Show. Write down our toll-free telephone number. You want to be a part of the program. It's 800-941-SEAN if you want to join us. All right, so we had Ed Klein on the show earlier in the week. He has a brand-new book out about Hillary Clinton, Guilty as Sin. Now, our friend Joel Pollack over at Breitbart wrote a really good piece about how the media treats our friend Ed Klein. Now, by the way, he's been a journalist for nearly, 6 decades now, and he spent a lot of years as the foreign editor of Newsweek magazine, a mainstream publication, 10 years editor-in-chief of the New York Times Magazine, during which time the magazine won their first Pulitzer Prize in its history. And Joel goes on to point out 27 years as a contributing editor to the ever-so-liberal Vanity Fair. So he has a pretty good resume by anybody's objective standard. And over the years, he has now been writing books about Hillary Clinton. For example, in 2005, as Joel points out, he wrote The Truth About Hillary. And he was the first journalist to prove that Hillary knew about Bill Clinton's affair with Monica Lewinsky long before it became public, and that when the story broke, she tried to pretend she was shocked. And then in The Amateur, he unmasked Valerie Jarrett's shadow presidency infighting with Obama's first chief of staff, Rambo Deadfish Emanuel, and also the rift between the Obamas and Oprah Winfrey. And we know that in Blood Feud, Klein was the first journalist to report on the jealousy and the hatred and antipathy that divide the Obama and Clintons. Anyway, so now he's getting slammed. The Daily Beast, for example, wrote that at some point in the last quarter century, Klein has lost his GD mind. Perfect use of the language by somebody that supports Barack Obama. He just makes it up, and it's not even good. Anyway, I thought it would be fair to bring Ed back and give you a chance. I mean, it is unfortunate that this is how you're treated. I mean, you are hardly a member of my vast right-wing conspiracy.
Right.
You have all of these mainstream credentials, and every time you write a book, even before you publish it, they're out there criticizing it and trying to tear you down personally because they don't want to read the content of what's in your book. What's your reaction to that?
Let me tell you a story. My wife and I are getting dressed to go to a party. It's a party for Betsy Gottbaum, who's running for the Ombudsman of New York City. Everybody there is going to be from NBC, CBS, ABC, the New York Times, the usual mainstream liberal suspects. We get a phone call. We're almost dressed, ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
And the host says to my wife on the phone, "We are disinviting you." Disinviting you.
Wow.
And she says, "Why?" And the host says, "Because our guests wouldn't be comfortable being associated with a person who wrote a book critical of Hillary Clinton." Can you believe that? So we didn't go. And
I don't blame you. You know, one of the things Joe Scarborough said in that going to the New York Times Magazine piece, I don't know if you read it, about conservatism.
Yeah.
You know, he says, well, Hannity knows he's never going to be invited to the parties. And I'm like, first of all, I was born in New York, number one. Number two, I was happier when I lived in Rhode Island, California, Alabama, and Georgia. But I've been back in New York, and today I start my 21st year on Fox. It's our anniversary.
Congratulations.
Well, thank you. I mean, nobody thought I'd survive. I didn't even think I'd survive, to be perfectly blunt. So, you know, I don't want to be invited to the parties. If Joe and Mika are there, that's where I should not be.
That's right. That's right. And this is like a little secret society. If you cross them, when they see you, they don't even acknowledge you. They don't say hello. It's a lot of self-righteous, you know what.
Right. By the way, and today is Uma and Hillary's professional anniversary. They're 1 year behind me at the Fox News Channel, 20 years now.
20 years together.
Well, maybe it is. Maybe they're starting their 21st year like I am.
Yeah.
I don't know, but it says. But the bottom line is, I mean, I don't have any feel on. I'm going to ask maybe Linda and Jason and Ethan about this in the next half hour because we've been talking a lot about it. Because maybe I'm just too involved in the election and I'm too close to it. I can't tell you which way this is going to turn out in 32 days.
I don't think anybody can. Do you? I mean,
no, I can't. I cannot. Look, there's so many other factors. All right. Is the enthusiasm and the crowds of Trump and nobody showing up at Hillary, is that a sign that unlike Obama, she's got zero real enthusiasm? Is there
an underground for
that's
Donald?
In other words, people that won't admit to pollsters that they're going to vote for Donald Trump because they don't want to hear it?
Exactly.
I think there probably is.
I'm sure there is. I have no doubt
Is that enough to put him over the top? You know, but I look at these polls, and unlike what Nate Silver once said to me, I actually believe in polls. And I'm looking at them and looking at them and looking at them. But Donald Trump to win all these tight polls, Florida, Ohio, North Carolina, New Hampshire, New Mexico, Colorado, Nevada, he's got to win them all.
That's right.
He's got to basically run the table. Mm-hmm. And that always makes me nervous.
Well, with good reason. But don't you think that Sunday night will be the tell-all night? I mean, if Donald comes out strong on Sunday night and wipes the floor with Hillary, I think he'll go surging right past her in the polls.
Yeah, I think so. But then on the other hand, I don't think, look, Hillary's going to come in and do her typical, let me drop the kitchen sink on Donald Trump. So she's going to be fully prepared, and she will be a robot. She will have her lines memorized. She will drop all the lines, my opponent, my opponent, my opponent. You know, one of the things that I figured out during the Kaine-Pence debate is Democrats are really, really good at muddying up the waters. I mean, because what they do is they just talk nonsense, and it doesn't, you know, we really do this, and this. And I think for the average person that is too busy raising their family, working hard, obeying laws and paying taxes, they don't know when the guy says invest, it means spend a lot more of our money.
And I thought that what was really important in that debate, that vice presidential debate, was Mike Pence's demeanor. In other words, what he conveyed as a solid guy who was not going to be rattled, who knew his stuff, and would not descend to the same level.
But that's not Trump. That's not who Trump is. Trump is not the guy, in my opinion, that's going to memorize all the lines.
No, you won't.
And regurgitate them on cue, like a baby seal.
No, that's not Donald.
I don't think that's him.
One of Donald's problems, and we've all talked about it, is he takes everything personally.
True.
And if Hillary hits him, as I'm sure she will, and I'm sure she's got something in her back pocket for Sunday, as she did last time around with Miss Universe.
Right.
And if Donald takes the bait, that's not going to be good.
I think the answer is, Hillary, I know, you're dropping the kitchen sink again. Let me tell you what really matters in this election.
Right.
And then pivot to the comparing and contrasting of what their visions for the country are.
What it would mean if Hillary Clinton became president.
What it would mean?
More government interference in our life, more debt, less American position abroad, right?
Listen, peace and prosperity drive elections.
That's right.
You know, if you think you're better off than you were 8 years ago, then you're not paying attention to truth and reality, because you're not. If you think we're better off on the world stage, then you're not focused on truth and reality either. So I think the more he says, okay, Hillary, you can attack me, I'm going to focus on people that are in poverty,
right,
on food stamps, out of the labor force, paying $4,100 more.
96 million people.
95 million Americans. Yeah.
Out of the labor force.
Can
you believe that? I mean, I've never heard that in my lifetime.
Who ever heard of, 12 million additional Americans on food stamps since Obama's been there?
Right.
What about the 8 million more in poverty since Obama's been there?
Right, exactly.
I mean, if you talk about them, then it kind of makes Hillary seem petty just attacking Donald Trump.
Well, what you say is true, but everybody's telling Donald to do what you're saying.
Yeah.
The question is, will he do it? I don't know.
I mean, it's not, for all the accusations I get, Ed, that I'm running the campaign, which is ridiculous, but I wish he would listen. But I think he's his own guy. I think he listens to everybody.
Yeah.
But that's what I would advise him, no matter what she says. She's going to do this. I'm going to do this. This is where the economy's bad. This is what I'm going to fix. This is how I'm going to fix it. This is what we're doing wrong on the world stage.
Because our country is going down the tubes. He's absolutely right.
It's in decline. It's in
no question about it.
Major decline.
Decadence, decline. If we continue on this path,
we lose the country.
That's right. We'll lose the country. And that's Donald's strong point. That's where he can win this debate.
And she's had 46 years to fix it. And what has she done?
Nothing. Zero.
I mean, I don't think. I used to do this earlier in the campaign. I put on Clinton supporters and say, all right, name 3 things she's done to make the country a better place for the average American. And then we play Jeopardy music. And nobody can answer nobody ever answered the question.
Well, that would be a good question for Miss Raditz or Anderson Cooper to ask.
Well, they're going to probably want to talk about birtherism again.
I'm sure they will.
They're probably going to want to talk about his taxes again and again ad nauseum.
Mm-hmm.
They're probably not going to mention that Hillary and Bill deducted their old underwear.
That's right.
How pathetic is that?
It can't get worse than that.
Well, you know these two as well or better than anybody. I mean, is this what you would have expected from them?
From the Clintons?
Yeah.
35 years, year after year, Clinton scandals, year after year, Clinton illegitimacy. If she's elected president, we're going to have 4 more years of scandals, of no growth, of American decline abroad. I think that her whole campaign is a complete fiction, because she has nothing to offer this country.
I don't think she does either. So how have we gotten to this point where she starts out with 46% of the vote? Mm-hmm. Where the country, is it that because our educational system is that bad that we have so indoctrinated people into a mindset that says the government's going to take care of your free college and free health care and free, and she keeps saying, I'm going to tax corporations. I'm going to tax the rich. They're not paying their fair share.
But if you were writing a novel and you decided that the mainstream media was conservative, not liberal, and was really looking into Hillary's past instead of not doing a darn thing about Hillary, I think we'd have a very different America. Part of the problem and part of the reason for our decline is that the journalists who are supposed to keep officials on their toes have failed to do their job.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore people don't really know the facts.
I wonder, though, if there's also another hidden vote. If you're one of the 12 million more Americans that are now on food stamps, if you're one of the 8 million more Americans in poverty. If you are, we have a 51-year low home ownership rate. I wonder if any of these statistics impact you if you put the blame on Democratic policies before you go vote. Because if you do, then she can't win.
That's right. But the opposite of that is all these people on the government dole maybe vote Democratic because they want to stay on the dole.
Yeah. All right, Ed Klein, appreciate it. Thank
Great
you.
to be here.
How's the book doing so far?
The book is gangbusters. It's number 3 on Amazon after Bill O'Reilly and The Boss. Bruce Springsteen.
Bruce
Springsteen.
Are they in the same categories as you?
Yeah, nonfiction.
All right. Well, appreciate you being with us. Ed Klein, thank you.
Great to be here.
If somebody would call up Sean Hannity.
You done with this yet? Seriously? You can't. I've actually preferred when Obama was using my name all the time. You know what's really funny? And my staff gets this because they've been with me forever. But a lot of people out there, they're like reading about Sean Hannity a lot these days. This happens every election season. Right, Linda? 1984. Sean Hannity keeps putting on the swift boat Vets for Truth. Look at what he's doing. He's outrageous. He should be fired. Fox should get rid of him. 2007 and 8, we were vetting Obama harder than anybody else in the media. I was told I was going to ruin my career. That was 2007 and 8. 2010 was the Tea Party year. 2012 was Mitt Romney. And by the way, I can go back further than this if you like. Now we got an important election. Hannity, that's it. His career is done no matter which way this turns out. It cracks me up. I keep reading it, so it must be true, right, Linda? It's got to be true.
You work in a business where everybody lies, so when you tell the truth, it's a shock to the system.
I just don't know. Do you have a feel for how this is turning out? I haven't asked you that question yet. I have no feel. I have no sense of which way this election is going to go.
You don't have any tingles up your leg?
I don't know. I've never had a thrill up my leg like that. No.
You don't know what you're missing.
That's
we should
called
call Chris Matthews and ask him.
That's called an Obamagasm. Yeah. So, no, I mean, do you have any sense of where you think this is going to go?
I do.
What do you think?
I mean, I feel that there's a lot of people out there who are not going to tell you that they're going to vote for Trump.
You think it? And so you think he's going to pull it out because you think that number's high?
I also think this is the question. This is the answer, and the question that I say all the time is: ask yourself when the last time was that you were polled.
I've never been polled.
Exactly. I've never been polled. Ethan's never been polled. Jason's never been polled. So at the end of the day, it's like
Lauren's never. We'd ask Lauren, but Lauren apparently doesn't like to work
Lauren
on Fridays.
Is sick. Lauren is out sick.
Yeah, I love how I'm the boss, and nobody tells me. By the way, Lauren is not going to be in today because she's sick.
I am the liaison.
Okay, and so I could have written her a note. We could have sent her flowers. We could have been nice to Lauren.
Oh, is that what you were going to do? You were going to write her a note, Sean? Really?
Well, I'd have you write it.
Exactly. Give me a break.
Tell Lauren we're asking about her. All right.
Well, Lauren, I care so much about you. She's going to be like, man, Linda, he wrote me the nicest note.
Yeah.
Oh, really? What did it say?
Yeah. Well, you got a problem with that? You've done it before. What are you talking about?
No, I've never done that.
No, but I dictated at least. I'll tell you, send her this note. Lauren, didn't know you were sick today. Just found out. We love you. Hope you feel better. Boss.
She'll know that's me, right?
You're not her boss. I'm her boss. All right, Jason, so you think Trump. Okay. What do you think, Jason?
I have said from the beginning when he won the primary that I thought he would win this election just because of trends. If you believe in the Brexit trend, if you believe that people really hate their politicians so much that they want a true outsider, they're going to vote Trump.
What do you think, Ethan?
I think he has a chance, but he has to reel it in and follow a lot of the stuff that you've been saying.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if it's because I'm too close to it. I just cannot. And I don't know if it's because I know half the country that voted for Obama is insane. The thing that gives me the most hope for Trump, because I don't want her to win, is that every time, let's say Donald Trump does exactly what you're saying, Ethan, and he's tweeting at 3:30, which drives me up a wall or something like that, yeah, she'll start rising in the polls, but then they go right back down again. And it tells me that, that she cannot close the deal. But on the other hand, There's 47% of the country that is stark raving Obama mad.
But let's talk about one thing, and this is something that we all talk about all the time.
No.
I don't know if we've ever discussed it directly,
No.
but if you look, right, at every single Trump rally, town hall.
Massive. The enthusiasm is massive.
Okay, Hillary Clinton gives a speech, okay?
100 people.
Maybe. At Haverford, they were busing them in. All the people being bussed in, a lot of them were Trump people that were undercover, and they put their Periscopes and their Facebook Lives on. They're like,
It's
I'm
hilarious.
here getting bussed in by Hillary Clinton. It's great.
It's hilarious.
I mean, it's really crazy. So, I
You
don't
see,
know.
that gives me a lot of hope, too, because, I mean, if you go back to 2008, there was nothing I was going to say or do that was going to stop the Obama train. I mean, he's a radical. He's a leftist. He's friends with unrepentant domestic terrorists. He went to the Church of GD America. He bought into black liberation theology. He was an Alinskyite disciple. All of this information I'm disseminating, and there was nothing I could have said in 07, 08 that was going to convince people not to vote for Obama. I think they did a very good job. Look, Obama's a great campaigner. That's the only thing that seems to energize him and even now being out on the campaign trail for Hillary, he actually gets somewhat animated. I think he hates the job of being president, frankly. I don't think he likes it. I think he thinks it's beneath him.
And remember,
I don't think he can wait to start making millions because he thinks it's owed him.
He's already making millions. He's got all his book deals and his
got it all lined up.
Forget about it. I mean, they've already rented their house that they're going to live in.
Forget about it.
Forget about it. They already, the house that they're renting when they get out of the White House
I know,
is like $10 million a month. Give me a break. Yeah, you're really.
I don't think
living
it's
it up.
$10 million a month, but it's pretty. It's not
like
$10 million
between
a month.
Forget about it. I'm telling you, I got the article. I'll bring it in.
Forget about it. It's not $10
But that's
million
not
a
what I
month.
was going to say. If you remember in 08 and 12, there were a lot of people who did these on the street, kind of like how we used to do the man on the street thing, and they went out and they ascribed all the values and platforms that McCain was running on, and they would give them to Obama. And they would say, how do you feel about the fact that Obama is pro-life? How do you feel about the fact that he loves the Second Amendment? I mean, you literally could have said anything, and they would have said, I support Obama, and they did. They didn't know what he stood for. They just knew that they loved him, and it really didn't matter what he said. He could have said the alphabet. They were going to vote for him.
Yeah, you're right. All right, let's get to the phones here. 800-941 Sean. We got, is it Britt? Britt is in Prescott in Arizona next on the Sean Hannity Show. How are you?
Hi, Sean. Thanks for taking my call.
What's going on?
Well, we had the big Trump rally here last Tuesday, and we are a population of 42,000 people in Prescott Valley. There were between 18 to 20,000 that showed up at that rally.
Mm-hmm.
And the venue only holds 6,000, so they had an overflow. They had to put up TV screens on the outside, and people stood out in the heat watching it.
Listen, I'm telling you, that's the enthusiasm part that encourages me that Trump can win this. But I wish the poll numbers were better for him. I mean, to be honest, when I see it's neck and neck in Ohio, neck and neck in North Carolina, neck and neck in Florida, neck and neck in Pennsylvania, neck and neck in New Mexico, neck and neck tied in Nevada. I'm sitting there and I'm saying every Republican, and this is the advantage that Democrats have, Democratic presidential candidates have over Republican candidates, is they start out with New York and New Jersey and Illinois and California and Oregon and Washington. And, we start out with Texas and the South. And when you start out, when you have 200 and some odd 40 electoral votes, I mean, it's not hard to close it out for a Democrat. Now, Trump, I think, is having her play defense in areas she didn't have to play defense. She didn't think she was going to have to play defense in Pennsylvania. She basically is pulled out of Ohio, from all we can tell. I don't think she thinks she can win that. She's trying to fight for North Carolina. I would think North Carolina goes Trump. Florida is going to be tough. He has to win Florida if he wants to be president. And then he has to pick off another state, Colorado, New Mexico, New Hampshire, Iowa. I mean, there's so many factors in play here that I just don't know. And then you got another factor. The media hates Trump. I can tell you right now, Trump with the media cannot win Sunday's debate. Can't. No matter what he does, because he's not going to be studied in a robot like Hillary, which seems to be the criteria.
Well, that when you mentioned the polls, that's really confusing to me, because he was in Phoenix and had a huge crowd. He's up here in little tiny Prescott Valley with a huge crowd. Hillary hasn't even set a foot here, so how can they be tied in Arizona?
Just telling you, that's what the latest polls show. It's very tight in Arizona, very tight in Nevada, very tight. It's not tight in Iowa anymore. He pulled out a big lead there. It's very tight in New Hampshire. It's, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania. They still stay in Hillary's camp as tight as they are. And then you've got Florida tight, North Carolina tight, Ohio tight. It's that's why I don't have a feel. I think Linda's right. I think there is an enthusiasm gap. I also believe that there are people that won't tell posters who they're voting for. I think that's a factor on Trump's side. I think the enthusiasm gap is massive, which is one of the reasons that I talked about the polls after the last debate, and I got criticized so roundly by the news media. They're not the polls that I'm using to actually figure it out. I have no idea. Nate Silver keeps changing his predictions every day. He doesn't know who's going to win this election either. He just doesn't want to look bad. All right, let's go back to our phones. Thanks, Britt. Appreciate it. As we say hi to Sherry in Texas. Sherry, hi. How are you? And we're glad you called.
Hello, Mr. Sean.
Hello, Madam Sherry. What's going on?
Hey, I want to tell you I admire you, and I thank you for everything that you have done and continue to do. You are totally awesome. You rock. You rock.
Well, thank you.
I have a quick question for you, Sean. It's about the town hall, the debate this Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
I think I know how Donald can win. What do you think would happen if in the intro, the very beginning, in a very charming, sincere, heartfelt voice, he said, I want to apologize to everyone for everything I've done or said in the past. I am sorry. From this point, I want to talk about all Americans' views. Let's move on.
Sherry, you're very sweet. You're very kind. Hell is going to freeze over before Donald Trump ever does that. It's not him. And I understand. Look, I know you've got a sweetheart. I can hear it in your voice. And I know you're saying this with the utmost of sincerity. And number one, people on the left are never going to forgive him. It doesn't matter. They would rather, look, there's half the country just locked in. You could have Hillary on tape shooting somebody in the head, robbing them blind, and they'd say, still vote for Hillary. And it's just, there's nothing we can do. I mean, we have indoctrinated go ahead.
If he did that, it would take 3 seconds in the beginning, then anytime Hillary criticized or she made a dig at him, all he would have to do is calmly move on, ignore it, and go to the platform. Go to everything.
I agree with Part B. Whatever is brought up, go to your platform. He does not owe Hillary an explanation on anything. All right, Sherry. Hopefully they're listening. We'll see if those words come out of his mouth. I will be stunned and probably be on the floor. I don't expect it to happen, but I know where you're coming from, and I think it's really sweet of you. Buddy, Florida. Hey, Buddy, how are you? Glad you called. Our thoughts and prayers with our friends in Florida as they're now still dealing with this hurricane. What's going on?
I'm good. I'm over on the West Coast, so we got a little bit of wind, maybe 20, 30 miles an hour.
Where on the West Coast are you? Because that's where I am when I go down.
I'm about 15 miles south of Tampa, a little town called Waimama.
Waimama?
And, yeah, that's it.
Waimama.
That's Wamauma, correct.
I know, but it sounds like Why You Mama? Why You Mama?
Well, it's named after 3 sisters, Winona, Maud, and Mary.
All right, Why You Mama? I got it.
Yeah, back around 1900. He was a farmer. Look, I've got a little 15-acre farm here, and I raise cows. But
awesome.
I had the other day. Pardon.
I said that's awesome.
Okay. Yeah, I live a little bit. I live in the country, but the city's moving up. Already moved up. We got a Walmart down about a half a mile from the house. So it's every time I move, they
you know what's good about that for you as a farmer? Because one day how many acres you got? You got 1,500 cows. How many?
No. I've only got 20 acres, and I've got.
All right, but if Walmart moved in down the block, one day somebody's going to come knocking on your door and offer you a lot of money for your 20 acres. That's good for you.
Yeah, I'm hoping. Look, what I called about, I was thinking the other day, how can I can't come up with a slogan that disparages the Clintons, that doesn't really it gets deep, but it's not too deep. And I came up with this, and I had a magnetic sign made for the tailgate of my pickup truck. And every time I stop at a red light, everybody behind me is snapping pictures. But it says when Bill commits a rape, Hillary helps him escape.
Wow. I bet you got a lot of reaction to that one.
A lot of people taking pictures and guys laughing, and it's just, but it says a lot in two sentences, and it's the truth. That's the main thing. So, but hopefully, I'm 68 and lived here my whole life, so I've seen Florida change. Gosh, when I was a kid, there were only probably a million, maybe 1.5 million. Tampa only had like 60,000. It's just gone crazy.
All right, I gotta run here, but I can understand the reaction you're getting, no doubt about it. Anyway, 800-941-SEAN, toll-free telephone number.
Don't be in a position, and I know, and I have a, no one ever doubts I mean what I say. The problem is sometimes I say all that I mean. But I know some of you, and some of the people you're trying to convince aren't crazy about Hillary. I know that, okay? I think she's gotten an unfair deal, but the truth of the matter is there's a lot of people. But folks, don't wake up on November 9th and find out we lost Pennsylvania by 2,000 votes and say, if I'd only taken my neighbor, if I'd only gone, if I'd only. And there's been a lot of elections. Remember Al Gore?
I was kind of nervous because I haven't seen him in real life, only on my grandma's phone and on TV. My heart was kind of like squished together a bit, like smashed. One of the ladies that want to be president are actually bad, and she steals.
Don't you someday want to see a woman president of the United States of America? Well,
she steals. Anyway, news roundup, information overload hour. Crazy Uncle Joe Biden at it. I know some of you aren't crazy about Hillary. I really can't stand the woman either. But, what are we going to do, vote for Trump? I mean, what do you expect us to do here? You can't work at a Dunkin' Donuts or a 7-Eleven unless you have a slight Indian accent. And, by the way, did you know that Barack Obama, this is storybook, man.
As they say in my business, I'm gonna give you the whole load today.
You got the first sort of mainstream African American who is articulate and bright and clean and a nice looking guy. I mean, that's a storybook.
You're telling me we got to go spend money to keep from going bankrupt? The answer, yes, I'm telling you.
You don't know my state. My state was a slave state. My state is a border state. My state is the 8th largest black population in the country. My state is anything from a northeast liberal state.
You cannot go to a 7-Eleven or a Dunkin' Donuts unless you have a slight Indian accent. I'm not joking.
Hillary Clinton is as qualified or more qualified than I am to be Vice President of the United States of America. Let's get that straight, and quite frankly, it might have been a better pick than me.
So let me say it again. Thank you, Terry, and thank you, Dr. Pepper, and thank you, Dr. Paper.
Romney wants to he said in the first 100 days, he's going to let the big banks once again write their own rules. Unchain Wall Street. They're going to put you all back in chains.
Think about what happened out in where Gabby Gifford, my good friend, was shot and mortally wounded.
Well, I say they're going to start to see unemployment grow this spring.
You mean employment?
It's going to take employment grow. I'm sorry.
Number one job facing the middle class, and it happens to be, as Barack says, a three-letter word: jobs. J-O-B-S. Jobs.
Chuck Graham, state senator's here. Chuck, stand up. Chuck, let him see you. Oh, God love you. What am I talking about? I tell you what, you're making everybody else stand up, though, pal. Now is the time to heed the timeless advice from Teddy Roosevelt. Speak softly and carry a big stick. End of quote. I promise you, the president has a big stick. I promise you.
I stopped in Singapore to meet with a guy named Lee Kuan Yew, who most foreign policy experts around the world say is the wisest man in the Orient.
All right, there you have Crazy Uncle Joe. Three-letter word, jobs, J-O-B S. You can't work at a Dunkin' Donuts or a 7-Eleven unless you have a slight Indian accent. So I got to put you all back in chains. Here we have the first African-American. He's actually bright and articulate. He's clean. Anyway, news roundup and information overload. Jessica Tarlov is with us, senior strategist at Schoen Consulting. Ron Christie is a former special assistant to President Bush, contributing columnist to the Daily Beast. And our big story today, of course, is we've got a lot more Clinton corruption on a level that I think is pretty. We have the State Department and the White House teaming up to protect Hillary. We got James Comey indicting a Navy SEAL for what? Mishandling classified information. We have the latest Clinton scandal, as I said earlier, snaring Chelsea and the Clinton Foundation, of course, the money that they didn't get to Haiti, and they want more. Anyway, Jess, do you think people care about all this corruption, the Clinton Foundation, all the lying about Benghazi? Do you think they care about what happened with the email server scandal and the fact she lied about all that, too?
Yeah, I think that they care kind of as an umbrella term. I don't think they care about the specifics that are coming out. You're going to say daily, I'm going to say weekly. But I think that an impression has already been made on the American public that she's not trustworthy, and you see that reflected in her numbers. And I don't think that, the drip of it is affecting it anymore, because her favorability numbers are actually going up right now as Trump's are going down. And I think that what's happening right now, even though we're hearing more about whatever relationship there was between the State Department and the Clinton Foundation and Teneo and whatever else it is, that the Clinton campaign is effectively exposing things that went on within the Trump Foundation, within the Trump organization, et cetera. And I think that's counteracting it. So while I don't think that not anyone, but I don't think the masses of the American people are going to come in and say, I think Hillary's the most trustworthy candidate, I think largely that the damage has already been done and hearts and minds are not being changed.
But she seems to have maxed out. Every time Donald Trump maybe has a misstep and he sends out a 3:30 tweet, then all of a sudden the polls go down and then they start climbing back up again. And I would argue that actually we're seeing that happen now. I mean, it's...
Really?
Yeah, really, because he's up one in Florida and he's...
Yeah, in one poll. I mean, listen,
I'm just giving you the poll numbers. There's more than one poll, actually, if you include the UPI polling, which has them ahead in all the swing states. But putting that aside, I'm not sure why pollsters are why Real Clear Politics is ignoring UPI. Why do you think that is?
Me? I don't know. I mean, I've read about, explanations of why the LA Times poll shouldn't be taken as seriously as the others. I haven't read about why the UPI poll wouldn't be included there.
All right, but the bottom line is this. She seems to have a ceiling. She seems to have a ceiling, which it keeps allowing Trump to bounce back. And when he gets back on message, he seems to do a lot better. Ron Christie.
I think that's right, Sean. And going back to the original question that you asked Jesse here, I really think that the issue at hand here is, are there two Americas? Is there America where Hillary Clinton can flaunt the law, where she can have her emails deleted without any repercussion, where her staff can take immunity deals that me or you or Jesse would never get, that her staff would have the opportunity to not have those emails read after a certain date? I mean, if you look at Andrew McCarthy over at National Review Online, he's laid out a very damning case that it looks as if Hillary Clinton knew that they were selling arms, out of Benghazi and using that as a waypoint illegally and breaking the law. And so I look at this and think, we're at a real critical juncture here of, are we having two Americas? Is there a double standard that the Clintons have to play by one set of rules where they don't get prosecuted and the rest of us get screwed? That's what this election to me is all about.
What do you think, Jessica? I mean, to me, I agree with... Look, I think this election, if it really break it down, it comes to substance. But I do think the fact that Hillary is a liar and she lies repeatedly is going to make it extremely difficult at the end of the day for her to get those people that are independents to flip over to her. And I think that's why this race remains tight. I mean, Donald Trump does make mistakes as a non-politician.
And he lies. I think that you could admit that, too. If you want to call her a liar, certainly we could talk about Donald Trump as a liar.
I don't know anybody that lies like Hillary does, though. I mean, let's look at her.
You've decided that her lies are worse than his lies.
Well, but she's lying about issues that involve. Let's go to, for example, we have Trey Gowdy grilling James Comey over the very thing she said about her email server scandal. Now, at every level, I mean, I was talking about this early in the program today. I mean, for James Comey to actually be out there indicting a Navy veteran for mishandling classified information on one occasion, charging Harold Thomas Martin of Maryland with theft of government property and unauthorized removal of classified materials. Well, it sounds a lot like Hillary. Anyway, arrested in late August, charges kept under seal. The FBI investigated, and they were trying to determine his motive or intent for taking the information. The information was really basically nothing. This is a guy that has dedicated his entire life to protecting his country, and they end up indicting the poor guy.
Well, that's only because, of course, his last name wasn't Clinton. And the really damning thing about all this, Sean, and at least in my view, is the fact that Comey has tried to reassure the American people that there was nothing political about this. There was, not a different set of standard used for Hillary Clinton. But time and again, it appears that the Obama administration has politicized the Justice Department, the one department that is supposed to be above politics. And that's why I'm very concerned. If you travel around the country, as obviously you do and I do, and you talk to folks, people are saying people in Washington are arrogant, they're out of touch, and Hillary Clinton embodies the fact that I can't do what she does and not get prosecuted.
All right, let's play, Jessica, for you. Let's play James Comey getting grilled by Trey Gowdy. All Trey Gowdy is doing is pointing out what Hillary said about the email server, and she lied every time.
In a congressional hearing on July 7th, Director Comey directly contradicted what you had told the public.
I had not sent classified material nor received anything marked classified.
Secretary Clinton said she never sent or received any classified information over her private email. Was that true?
Our investigation found that there was classified information sent.
So it was not true.
Right.
That I am confident that I never sent nor received any information that was classified at the time it was sent and received.
Secretary Clinton said there was nothing marked classified on her emails either sent or received. Was that true?
That's not true. There were a small number of portion markings on, I think, 3 of the documents.
I never sent classified material on my email, and I never received any that was marked classified.
Secretary Clinton said I did not email any classified material to anyone on my email. There is no classified material. Was that true?
Now, there was classified material emailed.
People across the government knew that I used one device. Maybe it was because I am not the most technically capable person and wanted to make it as easy as possible.
Secretary Clinton said she used just one device. Was that true?
She used multiple devices during the 4 years of her term as Secretary of State.
But we turned over everything that was work-related, every single thing. Personal stuff, we did not. I had no obligation to do so and did not.
Secretary Clinton said all work-related emails were returned to the State Department. Was that true?
No, we found work-related emails, thousands, that were not returned.
All I can tell you is that when my attorneys conducted this exhaustive process, I did not participate.
Secretary Clinton said her lawyers read every one of the emails and were overly inclusive. Did her lawyers read the email content individually?
No.
He directly contradicted what... Well, let me just he not only directly contradicted what you said, he also said in that hearing that you were extremely careless and negligent.
Well, Chris, I looked at the whole transcript of everything that was said, and what I believe is, number one, I made a mistake not using 2 different email addresses. I have said that, and I repeat it again today. It is certainly not anything that I ever would do again. I take classification seriously. I relied on and had every reason to rely on the judgments of the professionals with whom I worked.
Did you wipe this her?
What, like with a cloth or something?
She and her lawyers had those emails deleted. And they didn't just push the delete button. They had them deleted where even God can't read them. They were using something called BleachBit.
Do you want me to repeat all the lies, or do you just understand that they're all lies?
No, I understand. I'm a very smart girl. Yes, I've got it. Thank you for clarifying.
So she lied, and on every issue here to protect herself from going to... Wait a minute. Whoa.
Not real. Absolutely. Listen, James Comey was very clear that she was extremely careless in how she handled classified information. I think the debate over, the treatment of somebody else versus a Clinton is a very interesting one. But I would like to say that I think that what Mike Pence did in the VP debate was exactly the right thing to do and what Donald Trump should do, which is to continue to make this an election about change, right?
and this different set of standards that, Ron says as well that the Clintons live by, and law and order and economic growth. And though we could debate whether his plan will actually achieve those things or not, that's what Americans want to hear. They don't want to hear this litigated over and over again. People have already decided, a majority, right? I think it's 56%.
The majority of people decide that they want to elect a liar. Well, maybe, Ron, what's your reaction to that?
No, I'm saying that
I don't think that's the case, and I think Jesse's right. This should be an election about the issues, and the issue that's on the minds of most Americans today is the economy. And we just got another bad economic report today. We still have the highest workforce. We still have the worst labor workforce participation rate since the late 1970s. We only created 156,000 jobs. We should have had 170. The analysts always appear to be so surprised. I'm not surprised at all. When you have a confiscatory tax system as we do in the United States, the highest corporate tax rate in the world, there's no doubt that companies are really hesitant to expand because the economic climate here in America is bad and the government wants more. And Hillary Clinton wants to double down on Obama's failed economic policies.
All right, let me ask you the last question, each of you. Who wins the election? Real quick, Ron.
Trump.
Who wins, Jessica?
Clinton.
I cannot pick them. I'm going to pick them. I have no idea who's going to win this thing. None.
Oh, I think we could have a popular vote electoral college split.
Interesting.
Which will be kind of dangerous, I think, for the country.
All right.
I was kind of nervous because I haven't seen him in real life, only on my grandma's phone and on TV. My heart was kind of like squished together a bit, like smashed. One of the ladies that want to be president are actually bad, and she steals.
She steals from the mouths of babes. 800-941-SEAN. Here we are, 32 days till Election Day. We'll start our 29-day countdown on Monday. We'll have full coverage tonight of what's going on with Hurricane Matthew, slamming now in the Jacksonville area, even as we speak at this moment, which is really sad. And our thoughts and prayers go out to those people. By the way, I'm doing something on Hannity.com, a special report called The Closing Arguments. In other words, we're just going to put out there closing arguments against Hillary. We're going to cover topics ranging from everything from illegal immigration, the war against radical Islam and ISIS, reining in bloated federal spending. And we're just basically going to release a chapter every week for the next 5 weeks. And the only way you can get them is just go to Hannity.com and get our newsletter, which is absolutely free. There's absolutely no cost to you whatsoever. Things we've been putting together. Just go to Hannity.com. All right. Click on the newsletter and it's all yours. All right. Now let's get to our busy phone. Speaking of the Jacksonville area, Jennifer's standing by. Jennifer, hi. How are you? You're in our thoughts and prayers. What's going on?
Not a lot of rain at the moment.
Yeah. How's the winds?
Well, I'm not in St. Augustine at the moment. We evacuated, but from everything I've seen from people that did not, it is pretty bad.
Yeah, sustained winds.
It is
150 miles per hour, gusts of 150. This is real serious stuff. I know. Look, I know there's been a little bit of a, well, did we overreact to this? And you know what? When you're talking about people's lives and just being inconvenienced, I think it's worth getting in your car, fighting traffic, being annoyed, being inconvenienced, and protecting your life and your family's life. When did you leave, by the way?
We left Wednesday night, and we had planned on staying, and they came out with a mandatory evacuation Wednesday, and we were still talking about staying at that point. But they had closed down, and they evacuated 3 of the fire stations.
Right.
And at that point, that was when we knew we needed to go.
Yeah. Any friends, family stay behind that you're talking to, or?
We've got a couple people who stayed put, and they're not really near the water, but they're seeing a lot of wind and a lot of rain. No flooding as of yet. Now
Savannah's about to be hit next. Savannah, I used to actually go to Tybee Island. It's really beautiful there, and then it's headed up to the Carolinas after that. And look, I mean, everybody is you got to batten down the hatches. I know a lot of people don't want to leave. I understand the resistance not to want to go. I really do. But if it's me, I'm going to go. I'm going to leave. I'm going to listen to what they say. I'd rather err on the side of caution here and come away with my life so I can come back and fight another day. Anyway, Jennifer, you hang in there. My best to your family. Nate is in Fresno, California. Nate, hi. How are you? Glad you called.
I'm doing great, Sean. I'm doing great. Hey, I was listening yesterday, and I had a quick idea about how maybe the Trump campaign during the debate tomorrow can maybe flip some of these negatives around. You know, the his bankruptcy, they seem to want to keep harping on all these negatives, but that bankruptcy basically just equals a reset, and look at all the success he's had after his reset and the amazing accomplishments that he's had. And you can look at Clinton's reset with Russia and look at the disaster that's become. If they want to talk about his taxes, they could talk about how she's had an opportunity to change the taxes over the last 30 years, holding some of the highest offices in the nation and still having, no effect. Just all these successes after these adversities, Clinton has zero success.
Look, I don't think Trump owes Hillary or anybody else any more answers about his business, taxes, any of this. That's not what this election is about. And if they ask it again, or birtherism, I just say, I've given you that answer. I've answered the question about my business a million times. Hillary's going to say, how does anybody lose $1 billion? My answer would be, how does anybody lose $6 billion, as she did when she was Secretary of State, because of malfeasance, basically, and the Inspector General report even recognizes it was an awful mistake on their part. But
sure,
look, I would just stick with what the basics are. Hillary, you can focus on what I said 20 years ago. I'm focused on getting Americans that are in poverty, out of the labor force, on food stamps, back into work. That's what I'm focused on. You can focus on me all you want. I'm focused on defeating ISIS, protecting our homeland, securing our border. I'm focused on fixing the broken healthcare system. I'm focused on balancing a budget. I'm focused on education and the economy. You focus on what you want. And I think it's that simple.
And instead of slinging mud on each other and seeing whose mud is dirtier than anybody else's mud, I think they should, he should start focusing on where the trajectory is headed, where his ideas are going to push us forward and get us out of the muck that we're in, instead of trying to figure out who's got more dirt on the other one.
Yeah, look, I mean, for other people, I know it works. I know that, look, negative campaigning. Hillary's not going to change. She's going to bring in the kitchen sink. She's going to drop the kitchen sink. She's going to regurgitate the kitchen sink. She will have memorized her lines well. And the only thing I'd say to Trump is focus on the economy, focus on fixing it, focus on Obamacare and energy and education and protecting the homeland and ISIS. And I think you're going to do a lot better. And, look, I know he's not a professional debater. Mike Pence used to be a talk show host. Kind of good preparation for debate. That's what we do every day. And if somebody calls this program and says, Hannity, you did, and I'm going to talk about what I want to talk about. I don't have to sit here and answer questions about me, unless I want to. Back to our phones. Joe in Ellijay, Georgia. Next, Sean Hannity Show. What's up, Joe? You're batting down the hatches? You ready to roll?
Yes, sir. You're the best taxpayer champion in the world. I just want to say I thought Mike Pence clearly won the debate. Like you say, he's a former talk show host. I thought he was great, and I would like to predict that Trump will win the debate Sunday night and go on to win, because you can't tax yourself to prosperity like Hillary wants to do. And I just think Trump will win, and I think the American people are waking up from a 50-year nap, and I think they'll elect Donald Trump President of the United States. And, Sean, you'll have a heck of a lot to do with it. You have done a super job for Donald Trump, and I really appreciate it.
If he doesn't win, trust me, I'm going to get blamed for that, too. So,
well, you're the number one taxpayer champion in the world, and we love your talk show down here in Georgia, Ellijay, Georgia.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate it. Joe's been calling the show for years. Good guy. Just dropping the top corporate tax rate to 15% is going to have a profound impact on creating jobs for those of you out of work. Just moving towards energy independence will have a profound impact on work for people. Building a border wall will create less competition for the limited jobs that are out there that's driving down wages. Look, all I can do on this program is give you what is at stake here, the choices that you can make, the choices that are deep and profound here, and then ultimately it's going to be the American people that decide. Now, if you elect Trump, I think we're going to be a lot better off. It's going to take a while to repair the damage. When Obama said we did $9 trillion in debt, took a credit card in the name of our children at the Bank of China, and we rung up $9 trillion in debt, that's irresponsible, unpatriotic. Since he's been president, already $9 trillion in debt. I think I'm the only one that keeps pointing out he's accumulated more debt than every other president before him combined.
The way Bush has done it over the last 8 years is to take out a credit card from the Bank of China in the name of our children, driving up our national debt so that we now have over $9 trillion of debt that we are going to have to pay back. That's irresponsible. It's unpatriotic.
Obama himself has now accumulated $9 trillion in debt. To use the president's word, that's irresponsible, unpatriotic.
You're fired.
Anyway, back to our busy telephones here as we say hi to Anthony is in Mountain Home in Arkansas. How are you, Anthony? What can we do for you?
Hey, just fine, Sean. Thanks for the opportunity to talk with you. My issue is just this tax question that's going to come up in the debate. I think Donald has a good stance on this. I think it just needs to be poised in proper context.
I think the answer would be, if I was me and anyone asked my advice, I'd say, Hillary, you obviously wanted to use every tax deduction because you and your husband deducted your old underwear. So clearly you take advantage of the laws that you helped create. I never had any hand in creating. Number two, you used the same exact tax deduction I did in 2015. Number three, you want my tax returns. I emailed them to your personal server. You mean you didn't get them? Number four, I'd say, with all due respect, Hillary Clinton, when it comes to job creation and paying taxes, I paid hundreds of millions actually out of my pocket, and you actually used the tax laws to get people to pay the judgment against Paula Jones. I would use that and raise $10 million for your legal defense fund. I mean, there's so many areas you can go. I mean, it's...
Well, exactly. I mean, the issue is really, you could see it in the last debate. Hillary's angry. She is angry that we don't pay more than what, is required by law. And she was angry at Donald because he didn't pay more. But if he would contrast that with what she's done with the money that she feels entitled to compared to what he did with the money that he earned and worked for after this deduction that he took, basically what he did, he stayed in business. He continued to build his business through a tough time, hired more employees, built more, and built America. And, when she talks about contributions, that was his contribution. And it was a huge contribution to the people and the families that he had relying on him. Whereas her, she spent trillions of dollars in Afghanistan, Iraq, and Libya, and she voted for those. And she also directed what was happening in Libya. And she still feels entitled to more. And if I was him, I'd just say, no, enough. Your government needs to be put on a leash. You can only spend what's needed, not a penny more. And because that's what me as an American and the American people are going to give you, everything that's required by law, but not a penny more.
Who would ever pay one more penny than they have to? Only a liberal would wake up in the morning and say, I think I've got to pay more in taxes. That's what I'm going to do. Anyway, I appreciate the call. Thank you. Sam is in San Diego on Kogo Radio. What's up, Sam? How are you?
Doing well, Sean. Thanks for taking my call.
Thank you. What's happening?
Yeah, I had a thought I wanted to share about the vice presidential debate and Tim Kaine's interruptions. And the more I watched it happen on TV, I started to think, I had this realization that I haven't heard anybody talk about. And I thought it was actually a debate tactic to silence Pence.
Yeah, of course it is. I mean, he couldn't shut his mouth and he drove everybody nuts, but that shouldn't, a lot of liberals do that. I think there's something for Trump to learn there. I would lull Hillary into the sense that let her drop the kitchen sink and then turn to her at some point and say, for 2 debates now, you have been dropping your laundry list of attacks. And 1 debate with your vice presidential candidate, you care about that. I care about putting Americans back to work. I care about our health care system. I care about our national security and protecting the homeland. I care about education. I care about energy. I care about defeating ISIS. So, you know what? Everybody's heard it all before. I don't think it has the impact, especially after what happened with Tim Kaine the other night. I mean, he kept regurgitating the same thing. Who cares?
Yeah, and I think it was designed to not allow Pence to make his conclusions. If you watch the tape, every time Pence set up an issue and framed it, right as he was about to make his conclusion, Kaine jumped in and started drowning out his audio, so he couldn't make that point. And it occurred to me, because I went to the Trump rally here in San Diego, and it occurred to me that it felt like part of the left's larger strategy, which is to intimidate and silence political speech and expression.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, listen, I think a lot of that is true. I also think it didn't work, did it? I mean, by every objective analysis, Mike Pence won the debate by staying on substance. Anyway, back to our busy telephones here. Let us say hi to Donna is in New York, listening to the all-new AM 710 WOR.
Hi, Sean. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I wanted to bring up a point. You said that perhaps liberals would be more willing to pay taxes. That's not the case, because if you remember, back in the day when John Kerry had an option to register his yacht, he was deliberately trying to register it in a state where he'd pay less taxes. So it's more of that, what's good for you, but not as good for me.
Right, exactly. All right. I mean, look, all liberals do. That's why they deducted their underwear. That's why in 2015 they deducted the $700,000. That's what liberals do. They take advantage of the law. And, the idea that Trump was able to take a hit like that and fight back and rebuild his businesses is a good thing to me. He didn't quit. He didn't go away, because America right now is in a ditch just like what's the place in New Jersey? Atlantic City was in the ditch. So he was able to come back after very tough, difficult circumstances, and I think it was great for him.